Our first reading this morning we'll do responsively from Psalms 86. Teach me your way, O Lord, that I may walk in your truth. Give me an undivided heart to revere your name.
I give thanks to you, O Lord my God, with my whole heart, and I will glorify your name forever. For great is your steadfast love toward me. You have delivered my soul from the depths of Sheol.
O God, the insolent rise up against me. A band of ruffians seek my life, and they do not set you before them.
But you, O Lord, are God, merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love and faithfulness.
Turn to me and be gracious to me. Give your strength to your servant. Save the child of your maidservant. A reading from the Gospel according to Matthew, chapter 13. Jesus put before them another parable. The dominion of heaven may be compared to someone who sowed good seed in the field. But while everyone was asleep, an enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat and then went away. So when the plants came up and bore grain, then the weeds appeared as well, and the slaves of the householder came and said, "Did you not sow good seed in your field? Where then did these weeds come from?" The householder answered, "An enemy has done this." They responded, "Then do you want us to go out and gather them?" The householder replied, "No. For in gathering the weeds, you would uproot the wheat along with them. Let both of them grow together until the harvest. And at harvest time, I will tell the reapers to collect the weeds first and bind them in bundles to be burned, but gather the wheat into my barn." Then Jesus left the crowds and went into the house, and the disciples approached him, saying, "Explain to us the parable of the weeds of the field." Jesus answered, "The one who sows the good seed is the Son of humanity. The field is the world, and the good seed are the children of the dominion of heaven. The weeds are the children of the evil one, and the enemy who sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the reapers are angels. Just as the weeds are collected and burned up with fire, so will it be at the end of the age. The Son of Humanity will send angels, and they will collect out of the world all causes of sin and all evildoers. And they will throw them into the furnace of fire, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then the righteous will shine like the sun in the dominion of God. Let anyone with ears listen." The word of God for the people of God.
Thanks be to God.
Good morning. For your information, there was talk this week about canceling worship today because of the heat and the air quality that had been going on in earlier days. I often wondered, was it also about the quality of the preacher? But things lifted. Let's hope it happens even now. Last Sunday, our minister, Victoria, eloquently spoke about the New Testament parable of sowers and seeds found in each of the Synoptic Gospels, a metaphor for our attention about where and when and how we share our seeds of values, actions, context, and the implications of the choices that we make. I was absorbed and appreciated Victoria's sermon. Soon, after receiving the invitation to preach today, which happened a few weeks ago, from the deacons, I checked the lectionary guide for the assigned readings for July 19th. The Matthew readings assigned for today follow verses we heard last Sunday. I was glad to discover the assigned readings were a continuation of Jesus' teaching using metaphors that deserve exploration, as you heard the disciples even wondering, what are you saying? What's this all about? And so you've just heard Roz read two of those lectionary choices from the Psalms and from Matthew. I'll now take the liberty of an additional story. A few years ago, the second of two Cat brothers, both long-timed and loving members of our household, was dying. Our almost 3-year-old grandson stayed with us 1 day a week at that time, so he was aware of and included in some of the care that Rumpel got as he got weaker. A few days after Rumpel had died, I was in the basement and decided to throw away some well-worn towels and blanket shreds that the cat had used for a quiet place in a cooler part of the day. As I carried the items to the garbage can for pickup the next day, my 3-year-old grandson saw me and yelled frantically to my wife, "What's he doing with Rumpel's things?" Immediately she began to cry, for the loss was great for her. I returned to the house, not knowing any of this had transpired, and faced a tearful wife and an agitated 3-year-old. I also faced a wise and caring 3-year-old. My grandson turned to me and exclaimed, "Grammy's sad." To which I responded, scrambling to catch up with what was going on. I responded, "What do you think we should do?" And he said, "Tell her a story. Tell her a story." So I sat on the floor next to him, and we began. Once upon a time, there was an old guy and a boy who went for a walk. I paused, hoping that there might be a sequential tale. He and I had often done these, where one person puts out one line and then someone puts the next line, and so on. He immediately picked up, and off we went. He and I went several times back and forth in stories about an old man and a boy. He then interrupted me and pointed. Look, Grammy's smiling." "What do you think happened?" I asked, to which he instantly responded, "Grampy, stories work." Grampy, stories work. That wisdom from a 3-year-old, who, by the way, you just met a few moments ago. His name is Liam. That wisdom from a 3-year-old has resided in my perspective for 20-plus years and helps me when I hear Bible stories read, or when I open my own Bible, or when a poem, stories in fiction, or song lyrics evoke images of what might be also images of what we might call the sacred, God-like suggestions. You see, like many of us in this room, I grew up in a culture in which certain Bible verses were not stories, but declarative assertions of the actual Word of God. As if anybody, then or now, would be bold enough, or even so arrogant, that they knew what the Word of God was. My theology, while strong, is also filled with ambiguity. Almost a year ago, when I was the preacher, I cited the late Thomas Merton, who called the Bible a dangerous book because the nature of the stories and parables is to challenge those reading and hearing them to be astonished, confused, even outraged. Today I have chosen several secular parables and stories that challenge my faith in ways similar to many of the Bible stories. You may even compare the reading from Matthew with stories I share today. The stories I offer, dare I say it, are examples that fit with me with the United Church of Christ assertion that God is still speaking. That could have been the title of this sermon also. Not only that stories work, but that God is still speaking. Sometimes with clarity, and oftentimes with metaphors that evoke questions about meaning, as did the disciples with Jesus. So, an alert as you listen. The choices I have made do not follow one theme or one metaphor. As I prepared, I saw connections. Perhaps you will, perhaps not. Some of you will consider this a meandering sermon. It is. Further, today is July 19th. This is a summer sermon. Given the recent hot weather and the state of our world right now, I chose stories that, yes, invite you to ponder, but also to smile. Be prepared also, because it is summer, for some reruns of previous stories from over 20 years of being an occasional preacher on low-attendance Sundays. Are you ready?
Yes.
Let's go, huh? Let's start with an assertion from James Carroll. The very act of storytelling, of arranging memory and invention according to the structure of a narrative, is by definition holy. The very act of storytelling is by definition holy, or at least it can be. We tell stories, he says, because we love to entertain and hope to edify. We tell stories because they fill the silence that death imposes. We tell stories because they save us. Here's an example of a saving story. Hazel, frail and over 80, refused to allow her nurses to clear some dead flowers from her bedside locker. This insistence was benignly viewed as a personal eccentricity until Hazel explained that she was keeping the dead blooms because as she watched the petals fall, they helped me also let go. Although they have left this life, if you look carefully, you can see some are shooting upwards toward heaven, the ones with seed pods. Those seeds won't grow, of course, but the thought is heavenwards. I do wonder what it's like when you're dead. I do wonder what it's like when you're dead. Her story reminds me of many who have spoken about this room. The window there, the window back there, the organ pipes. This place points us to something sacred. Or another story, which I've shared with you before, but it's especially poignant for me in these times. It's a poem called The Archbishop Chairs the First Session. It's about the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in South Africa in April of 1996. The bishop was Desmond Tutu. On the first day, after a few hours of testimony, the Archbishop wept. He put his gray head on the long table of paper and protocols, and he wept. The national and international cameramen filled his weeping, his misted glasses, his sobbing shoulders, the call for a recess. There was a long table, starched purple vestment, and after a few hours of testimony, the Archbishop, chair of the commission, laid down his head and wept. That's how it began. Having read the full poem by South African poet Ingrid de Kock, who I happen to know, I asked her about it. She told me that upon declaring the recess, Bishop Tutu was aware that because of his status, his tears would be the news story of that day, not the historical accounts of apartheid. He was embarrassed and chagrined, but those who had spoken and those who waited to give their account approached him and thanked him. They had been waiting for someone in authority to truly listen to their stories. The story of Hazel requesting the wilting flowers not be removed, and this poem about the Truth and Reconciliation Commission reminded me of the wisdom from Maya Angelou. There's no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you. There's no greater agony than having people who will not listen to your story or one that you cannot tell. For me, a less public but common experience for children and for old guys like me is this parable from Jeffrey Zerhudi of a child hoping to be heard. Nightmares awakened a young boy in the middle of the night. He cried out for his mother, who quickly joined him at his bedside. He said, I'm afraid, Mommy." She hugged him and assured him that he need not be afraid, but not only was she going to be sleeping one room away, but God was right by his side also. And the boy responded, "Well, I know God is here," insisted the boy, "but tonight I guess I just needed someone with skin on." Somebody with skin on. Scandinavian poet Rolf Jacobson wrote about some people with skin on. Here are a few lines of various people in our lives. All are sowers of seeds. Consider the choices that some are making. Some people ascend out of our life. Some people enter our life uninvited and sit down. Some people quietly walk by, calmly walk by. Some people give you a rose or buy you a new car. Some people stand close to you. Some people you've entirely forgotten. Some people are actually you. Some people look at you. Some people have never noticed you at all. Some people want to take your hand. Some people die during the night. Some people are other people. Some people are you. Some people don't exist. Some people do. Some people. The late Minnesota poet Bill Holm wrote about the impact specific others can have in our lives if we're willing to try something new, perhaps even to color outside the lines. It's his poem called Advice. Advice. Someone dancing inside us has learned only a few steps: the do your work in 4/4 time and the what do you expect waltz. We're creatures of habit. Someone dancing inside us has learned only a few steps: the do your work in 4/4 time and the what do you expect waltz. He hasn't noticed yet the woman standing away from the lamp, the one with black eyes, who knows the rumba and strange steps and jumpy rhythms from the mountains of Bulgaria. If they dance together, something unexpected will happen. If they don't, the next world will be a lot like this one. If they dance together, something unexpected will happen. If they don't, the next world will be a lot like this one. Holmes' poem appears in a book also with a confusing title, The Dead Get By With Everything. So, what happens when we die? Nigerian poet Ben Akri wrote, "We don't die, we change realms. Life is eternal. Living is not. Live while you are alive." We don't die, we change realms. Life is eternal. Living is not. Live while you are alive. Sheryl Sandberg, after her husband died, shared this story that was given to her by a friend. A childhood friend of mine who is now a rabbi recently told me the most powerful one-line prayer that he ever read is, "Let me not die while I'm still alive." Let me not die while I'm still alive. Bill Holm might suggest coloring outside the lines, dancing with people not exactly like you, or maybe dancing with someone like John Lewis, whose wisdom you know: get in good trouble, necessary trouble, and help redeem the soul of America. Or, I continue here, if you're not ready to dance with others, are you willing to embrace yourself today, this summer, and beyond? If I were to choose one current writer, now deceased, but still current for most of us, that I would put into the Bible of today. By the way, some people are saying we need a third testament these days. There's the Older Testament, there's the New Testament, but that's 2,000 years ago. We need a third testament. I would put Mary Oliver into that testament. This is her piece. You probably can recite it with me, but it's my gift to you, and it's a gift from Mary Oliver for us today. Wild geese. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving over the landscapes, over the prairies and deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the high, clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calling to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things. The family of things. Friends, I started this sermon asserting that many of the chapters and pages of the Bible are filled with stories and assertions chosen because it was thought that they provided a glimpse of God and the people of God. I've asserted this morning that for me, God is still speaking. In this church, by many of you through words and actions and through the voices of poets, singers, and many teachers. Theologian and preacher Barbara Brown Taylor addresses religious language and stories in her provocative little book entitled When God is Silent. She says religious language is communal property. Think about coming here and we share our words and our hymns. We'll sing one in just a moment, communally. Religious language is communal property. None of us invents words as we speak, at least not if we wish to be understood. Instead, we dip into the great pot of our shared language about God, which includes biblical narratives, creeds, liturgies, theologies, popular piety, and folklore. And she goes on and says that this pot it is a pot in which quite a bit has been thrown over the years. Some parts of the Bible are more connected to some of us than others. It is a pot in which quite a bit has been thrown over the years, which could lead to a rich stew. Instead, many who taste it complain it has gotten thin. It is a problem that is compounded by God's own silence. If God spoke directly to people, then preachers could retire. As it is, God's reticence is the problem that clergy are hard to address, especially preachers striving to hear and speak words and stories that work, that God may still be speaking.